These are the stories of women and men working in the trade, talking about their feelings and their experiences of decriminalization, of prostitution, and of prostitution.
The last thing I have is embarrassment, because this is my life, no one else's. So, are you looking for company tonight?
I am, sure enough.
Okay.
Want to go with me?
Yeah. How are you this evening?
Pretty good.
What did I do but run smack into you? Baby, don't you tell me no lie.
I had worked for a feminist organisation quite a few years ago, and they couldn't understand why I was happy to be a sex worker. And I tried to explain to them, isn't feminism about supporting a woman's choice, whatever that choice is? But they, as far as they were concerned, no.
If you believe that women need to be controlled and that sex is something bad and nasty, then obviously prostitution is something awful. If you believe that what women do with their bodies is their choice and that sex is basically a positive thing, then prostitution is never going to be a problem.
I looked it up in the dictionary once, prostitute, and it's a woman who sells her creative abilities.
Prostitution has existed, so far as we know, in every society bar Afghanistan under the Taliban and China under the Red Army. So we're talking about an activity which is universal, and it's really a mark of the intelligence and the maturity of a society as to how society copes with that reality. And you can turn the other cheek and hide it away and just hope that no one's going to get hurt too much, or you can treat it sensibly. That's what we've done in terms of this law.
And it's so dangerous to force anything underground. It closes the door on support options or leaving options or any other options. There's so many cases of women who are at university and while studying, and to support themselves financially while they're doing that, they've gone and worked in massage parlours and then left the industry and carried on with whatever vocation they've decided, and then have found themselves being classified as a criminal or not being able to get into that industry.
People most damaged by prostitution are sex workers. That this was a law driven by and designed by the organisation working for sex workers in New Zealand, and it was designed around the kind of public health principles which have really governed a lot of our law development over the last 20 years.
I think it's everyone's right to be supported by law in terms of the work that they do in the sex industry.
I think a lot of the people who think that the Prostitute Reform Bill is a terrible, terrible thing, or that prostitution in general is something terrible that needs to be made illegal, it's a paternalistic idea about protecting women. It's protecting women by being in control of them, in the same way that, you know, every woman needs to get married and have a man to look after her. Being against abortion, I think, and being against, I don't know, anything that allows women to have control of their bodies is, you know, it's all this sort of idea that men know best and that men should decide, or the state, you know, should decide what's best for women.
Glad I'm not a criminal anymore, or classified as a criminal anymore.
I think there are many outcomes in terms of decriminalisation, and it was weird, you know, with people who had worked before the law changed and expressed, you know, those fears that they had, and they found it really quite strange when the law changed and they could actually talk to their clients quite frankly. They could talk to each other and they don't feel like they're scum any longer, and they feel more confident about doing other things. Other people will say nothing's changed, you know. For me, I'm just, you know, still going to work and I'm, you know, dealing with the clients, and you have to scratch that comment apart and say, well, you know, do you sometimes stand there and wonder if your client is a police officer, and, you know, does that, you know, do you feel better now that the law's changed? So, oh yeah, no, it's much better, you know, because I know that even if he is a police officer, I'm not going to get convicted or plucked. Or
the police have become our protectors and not our tormentors. An office worker, sexual harassment from the boss, they're likely to get something done. Sex worker, before the decriminalisation, harassment from the boss, seen as part of the job. And who are they going to believe? The boss or the sex worker? And it's like, but now that's gone. You can't do that.
The law has done a lot for sex workers, and it's brought their esteem from a way down